Hey there, good viewers. Rocking some LA Croix or LaCroix to the lay person. Hey, Christopher. So, guys, how was your past week and your weekend and stuff? Whoop whoop. No, William. Are you hammered at the bar? Cause I hope not. That doesn't sound like too much fun. How are you guys doing? If the connection is really pixelated, I'm sorry. Because I live out here in the boondocks, you know, my internet is through satellite, so my Wi-Fi is kind of janky sometimes. Chris, that's pretty cool. I like when I get to the sanding portion because you know that all it takes is just a little bit of sanding and then finishing. You're pretty much done. All right, Will, thanks, man. I appreciate that heads up. So I guess we got lucky from coming in. Well, there's a few things that I wanted to go over with you guys tonight. First off, I really enjoy everybody coming and hanging out with me on Tuesday nights at 7:15 for Shop Talk Tuesday. It's one of my favorite things, and so I think what we're gonna do, I know I said before that I wasn't sure if I was gonna do it every Tuesday, but I really enjoy it. So so make sure that you stick with me every Tuesday at 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. So that'd be 7:15 p.m. as you guys already know. Go ahead and answer a few questions here. We got some already. Hey, Christopher. Hey, Christopher asks, have you tried wood epoxy floating shelves? No, I have not. But I have seen some on Pinterest and on the internet and stuff, and I think they look pretty sweet. How would you, hey, Chris, how would you do the floating shelves hardware-wise? How would you keep them floating? What kind of brackets would you use? Hey there, Teresa. Well, I can tell you what I'm about. I'm just about hanging out and having a good time, and you know, if we can all learn some woodworking in the process, then that's what I'm here for. I'm here to learn from you, and hopefully you guys can learn something from me too. Just to give you guys an update on the adoption process. We are still obviously in the waiting stage, but we did get an update with we have to put in another 15 hours of training. Honey, is it 15 hours that you know of?
Yeah, 15.
Okay, she knows. we have to put in 15 hours of training, which means training really is just having like listening to a podcast or reading a book and things like that, things that we can do on our own time. So that's where we are with that. Hey, Tony, how you doing, bro? From Cali, you know, we're on the opposite sides of the United States, aren't we? What's up, Chris? Chris Marsh, what's up to you, bro? Okay, Christopher, I see what you got there. How much are they? Do you know? Second Chance Woodworking asks, how long do you use the torch to get the air bubbles out? Well, what I do is, obviously, I mean, if you guys have ever worked with epoxy, when you go with a torch, the bubbles pop immediately, but they're not all gone yet. So what I do is I space it out between 5 and 10 minutes between each pass, and then I go over it 3 passes. $1. Yeah, right. Teresa, she says she's a retired carpenter trying new stuff, just finishing up a river table with live edge, not encased. I would like to see some pictures of that. If you have Instagram, DM me at Goodview Woodworks. I would like to see some pictures. Second Chance Woodworking. Yeah, see, that's one thing that I like about a heat gun instead of a torch, is that I can get closer to the epoxy without burning it. So with a torch, you have to be careful if you get too close, or not that if you get too close, but if you hold it in one spot too long, you have a chance of burning the epoxy. Whereas with a heat gun, you can get close to it, but what it will do is the air from the heat gun will push the epoxy around. It doesn't get hot enough to actually burn it. Hey Patrick, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? So as far as I know, last time you guys were on here, last Tuesday, we were talking about merch. I know you guys want some t-shirts and some hats and things like that. I did look into the hats. I wanted to use Teespring because they're affiliated with YouTube, and it makes it a little bit easier because I can just have the banner underneath each video. But they don't offer hats at the moment. So what I have to do, I have to see if I can find somewhere where we can maybe order some hats with the logo. And then also, we just got confirmation back tonight on the logo. I wanted to look the way I wanted to look. I wanted to look really good. So we just got a sample back, and it's what I want. So we should have a good logo within the next day or two, and that way I can get my button gear on some merch. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let me go over some questions you guys got here. I kind of missed some. See, Tony Bruno, he said he saw a video somewhere. Someone sprayed some epoxy with acetone and the bubbles pop. Yes, I've seen that before. I haven't actually done that, but I know that you could do that, or 91% isopropyl alcohol will do the same thing. And then Chris Marsh says, when it comes to the temperature of the epoxy when it's curing, what is too high, and is there anything I can do once I've made the mistake? I'm guessing, Chris, could you be a little bit more specific about the mistake? I'm guessing you got the temperature too high on the epoxy. So if you pour, so it depends. Some epoxies are different than others. I know with Ecopoxy, you can pour it thick, but obviously the temperature rises too much. So I've seen people put fans on it to keep the temperature down to a certain point. And then other ones, if you just go by the directions and keep the thickness of the epoxy to what their spec is, you don't have to worry about overheating it. Now, if you, when it comes to curing, I'm not sure about overheating it with a heat gun while it's curing. Most of the epoxy that I use, the curing time is open for a really long time, so I haven't had to worry about overheating it while it's curing. Hey, Patrick, so you would use a rustic bracket? Well, let me ask you this. If it is a floating shelf, are the brackets visible? Hey, Teresa, hey, sorry, my Instagram is at Good View Woodworks. Hopefully, hopefully I didn't say it too quickly that time. Okay, Chris, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Nick Johnson, what am I building tonight? Tonight, I am not building anything, but I have, I'm still working on that buffet server. There is a few things that I kind of wanted to go over tonight. So, like, Shop Talk Tuesday is everything that has happened behind the scenes. So if you guys want, and it also is a Q&A session. So gives you guys a chance to ask me any questions that you want to ask based on other videos that I've posted, or just want to see how life's going from my perspective. So that's what Shop Talk Tuesday. If you have anything that you wanted to go over, feel free to ask. Oh, Chris Marsh. Okay, so you poured it too thick. Yeah, so essentially, see, it depends on what type of epoxy you have. Sometimes once you've poured it too thick, there's not much you can do about that. I've experimented here and there with other epoxies, and I've had one, I poured it too thick, and it just cured too fast and trapped bubbles in there, and I had it in 35-degree weather in my shop. I had it real cold in there. It didn't matter. So the only thing I could say was maybe try putting a fan on it if you pour it too thick. But maybe what I can do is try to experiment some more with it. I know epoxy is kind of expensive, so it's hard to try to experiment. Frank YJ4 asks, "What's your favorite casting epoxy?" My favorite casting epoxy would definitely have to be Stone Coat countertops. So from what I've used so far, I really want to use some of the Eco Epoxy. However, it's like twice the price of Stone Coat stuff. So I may have to save up for some of that. Frank, so the casting epoxy, I would say Stone Coat is probably the easiest to go with. It's most beginner friendly. I hear you, Patrick. Patrick asked about floating shelf brackets, the ones that are mounted that kind of go into the edge of the shelf. It can't. He says he doesn't know if it could hold much weight. Well, from what I've seen, it depends on which kind of brackets you have. If you have a bracket that is thick and it is connected, both pieces are connected that go into the edge of the shelf, and it's mounted to a stud, it should hold as much weight as you can put on that shelf. Hey, Paul, what's up? What's you? Hey, Andy, how's it going, man? Second Chance Woodworking asked, if you had one big tool for the shop for building tables, what would it be? So I have two things. So for building tables, I would definitely invest in a bigger workbench, because I've had tables wide enough that it doesn't span, or it's wide enough that it covers my workbench and it's a little uneven, and I've had to put two workbenches in there. So I'd say a bigger workbench, and then also a track saw. I really want to get a track saw soon. It just makes easier for clamping and cutting straight edges on your tables. Possum Tater says, "Hey boy, what's up, Possum Tater? How you doing, boy?" Nick Johnson asks, "What's a good material for a non-stick mold?" So I've tried a few things. I've seen some people comment on some mold release sprays, but in my opinion, you can use whatever wood you want for your mold, but I would just line it with packing tape. And the reason why I use packing tape is it's inexpensive and readily available. You can get it anywhere, and it comes off packing tape pretty easily. Chris Marsh says, is it hard for me to figure out exactly how much to mix? Sometimes I have too much and others not enough. It's getting expensive and the wife keeps reminding me. LOL, any suggestions? Yes. So, Chris, I would, first of all, looking about how much to mix and pour, you want to, whatever size your mold is, you want to use length times width times height and kind of get a volume for your mold. I always would mix less than I need because I can always add more. The time, the curing time is open pretty, like within like 40 minutes, I think, on most of these epoxies. Hopefully that helps. If you, my Instagram handle is @GoodviewWoodworks. If you have any questions that you want me to go more specific on, just direct message me there, and I can answer some of your questions. Hey Jeremy, oh man, that sounds terrible. I'm sorry that that you're going through that kind of stuff. I've never had surgery before, but I have drilled all the way through my finger, and I know what it's like not being able to use your hand. Teresa, yeah, I've seen somebody use black garbage bags too. I just wonder how they would hold up when you go to pull it off, or if it leaves wrinkles and stuff. Hey Nathan, how's it going? Nathan asks, is it snowing here? No, it's rainy and cold, so worse. I'd rather it snow than be rainy and cold. Second Chance Woodworking, you're right. Online calculators work as well. It makes it a little easier. Guys, I wanted to go over with you about, if you guys saw the post that I made about the first ring attempt that I made and it broke. I wanted to kind of explain a little bit better than I did in the video why it broke and what made it break. So I thought I had another piece here, but if you can look up behind me right here, there's the serving tray that that I made, and you can see that it's in grain. And essentially what happened to the ring is, because it's in grain, if you guys have ever split wood, it splits on the end grain, like that direction. So I didn't even think about that when I was making the first one. So when I actually test fit the ring to put it on my finger, and it just split right on the grain, just like how it's made to do. And so it got me thinking, it's like, oh yeah, I just need to turn it 90 degrees. Now if you look at this ring, I don't know if you can see it very well, the grain is running horizontally, so that when I put it on my finger, it wants to stretch in the same direction as the grain, and that keeps it strong enough to use as a ring. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hey, Possum Tater asked, how come you didn't use your wood stove in the shop? That's a really good question. As a matter of fact, this past weekend I sold it. But the reason why I didn't use it was because I am not working full-time in my shop yet. And to go out there, start a fire, wait for it to heat up my shop, it was too much work for just a little amount of time that I was in there. It would probably waste a lot of wood too. So what I did get was I borrowed a friend's propane heater that seems to heat it up really quickly. and being that I'm only in there for a couple hours at a time, it makes it's more practical. Are you laughing at me? Yeah, Jeremy, as a matter of fact, my wife and I went this weekend to Hobby Lobby, and they have we were looking at some silicone molds there because both my wife and I were interested in those molds for making smaller things. However, I didn't really see the shapes that I wanted, so I may have to look online for that kind of stuff. A little bit of a LaCroix break. Really good. Nathan asks, are you aware that you made a Valentine's gift ring and Valentine's Day is a month away? Yes, I did. I gotta be ahead of the game. That way when people are searching for gift ideas, my video will already be there. Plus, my wife always likes getting gifts early. So, are you guys working on any projects at home? I'd be interested in knowing what you guys are working on right now. Paul Porter says you need an MC to read Quertion. Yeah, well, you know, I'm not a high roller like you may be, and I can't afford an MC up in here. Christopher, yeah, your coffee table, which I'm interested to see the final product. So what all do you have left to do besides sand? Pine Knot Shop says maybe Paul will volunteer to be my MC. Hey, Paul, you up for it? Hey, Tom Lors. Tom Lors said, just finished my very first river table. Hey, man, I'd be interested in seeing what that looks like. If you guys want to, feel free to hit me up on Facebook, Goodview Woodworks, or Instagram at Goodview Woodworks, and you know, send me some pictures there. I'd be really interested to talk with you guys and see what you guys are making. Andy, hey man, he asked, any update on t-shirts? Have you figured out a design idea? Okay, so yes, the design idea, I'm still that's still up in the air design-wise, but the update for that is I just got my logo back today, and it is the way that I want it to look. So now that we have a finished logo, I can get my butt in gear and start making some merch for you guys. And Nathan said he made a clock out of a 13-inch diameter tree cookie with swirly blue epoxy surrounding the cookie. That sounds awesome. You guys should post it up on Facebook on Goodview Woodworks page. Hey Brad, hey homie. I'd like to get you that 3D epoxy waterfall. Send me some drawings so that I can start building it. Nick Johnson asks, why do some epoxy tables cost over $10,000 and others $500? They don't seem that much of a difference. Well, Well, I can tell you that quality is a big deal. You may not be able to see from pictures, but it depends on the. Chris hit it right. It depends on the type of wood that's used, especially if it's a burl or a large slab. It also depends on the species of wood. Some are easier to get than others. It also depends on how much material is used. So if you have, for instance, a half an inch slab of wood and epoxy together versus a 3-inch slab and epoxy, that would definitely make the cost go up or down. And as much as far as hardware goes, like legs, if you had wooden legs versus steel or brass or anything like that, that's going to make the price go up. Nathan says the difference is that one is $9,500 more than the other. Oh, that's not what he means. You know that. Yeah, African zebra would be pretty cool too. I really like that stuff. It's pretty dense, but it's real pretty with the light and dark grain. I think zebra wood is one of my father-in-law's favorite species of wood. Isn't that right, Pine Knot Shop? You guys are hilarious. Paul says beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Thank you, Paul. That makes me feel nice inside. Brad says I'd like to see a blooper reel and some Marcus. Well, I think I can get one up. I think the other day I realized when I was editing that I was picking my nose in one of the videos. I don't think you guys want to see that. You guys are crazy. Possum Tater says East Surrey polecat wood. I don't know if that's a real type. I don't know if that's a real species of wood, and I'm not sure that I want any wood that smells like a polecat. And if you guys don't know, a polecat is a skunk. So Nick Johnson asked a really good question. How do you price your tables? Well, what I do is... Oh, Nathan, you're hilarious. What I do is I get my materials cost, and I usually add between 5 and 15% onto materials because obviously I need to drive to get them, so that covers the cost of fuel. Depends on how far I got to go and things like that. And then I also include my hourly rate. So whatever you choose to be your hourly rate, then add that on top of your materials cost plus 15%. And your hourly rate can always change depending on how long it takes you, but a good way to give an estimate are those two things added together. The Pine Knot Shop says a lot of those exotic woods are naturally oily and never dry out. That is true, and you have to watch out too because the exotic hardwoods, sometimes the dust, and I'm guilty of this, not wearing a mask, but the dust can cause like an allergic reaction, so you got to be careful with those as well. Hey Teresa, that's awesome. That sounds like a really cool project. Hey Sheldon, what up, home skillet? What's up with you, man? I know I got to text you just a little while ago. Yeah, I'm glad you're on here to watch me live. Nathan says you should get a lathe. I have a lathe. I know I haven't done a lot of videos on lathe work. Maybe I can add some of those in there. Would you guys like to see any videos of turning something on the lathe? All right, Andy. I'll see you later. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hey, Chris. I see what you. Okay. What would you like to see? Is there anything in particular that you would like to see turn on the lathe? Hey, Brad, if you go into my videos, uh, you'll see a video that I posted of making like an epoxy and wood Christmas tree, and you can see a blooper on that thing pops. I get a catch and it pops right off the lathe. All right, Chris, that's a great idea. Second chance woodworking, that's an awesome idea too. As a matter of fact, my wife has been trying to get me to turn table legs on the lathe for quite a while. She just gave me a funny face, like come on, I've been trying to tell you. Hey Nathan, that's a good idea. That's something I would love to do. I gotta find a good piece of burl to do that too. Maybe I can go on to the Burl Hunters YouTube page when they have their daily auctions and see if I can find something on there. Well, guys, I'm gonna go spend some time with my wife. It was so much fun talking with you guys tonight. Once again, if you guys want to message me on Instagram, DM me or at Goodview Woodworks, or if it's better on Facebook, there's a Facebook page, Goodview Woodworks page, and you can go ahead and send me whatever you want there too as well. And you guys can comment back and forth with each other if you make posts there. It's all that's welcome. So answer a couple more before I get off. Before I get off here, hey Aaron,
Yeah.
Brad says him and Jackie love you.
Aw, love them too.
Brad and Jackie, Aaron loves you guys too. Tom Lowers, I sent my first completed river in Facebook. I hope it made it. Let me know what you think. Texas Pecan and clear and black epoxy. Okay, bro. Yeah, I'll definitely get on there and hit you up on Facebook. But see y'all later. Have a good night, everybody. And like always, thanks for hanging out.